My name is Ryan Jackson. I'm Metro Texas' #1 trap house buyer. I'm also Metro Texas' #1 provider of affordable housing. Go ahead and click like, click subscribe, and click share. I'm gonna thank you for it. All right, so let's talk about screening tenants. Screening tenants is a very, very difficult thing to do because once you think you got it, you got a great tenant, then the next thing you know, they're doing dumb shit and opening up a meth lab in your house. So you gotta be really careful who you screen to. So some of the things that I do when I'm posting my property for rent, I just put it on Zillow. Okay, so Zillow will allow you the tenants to apply, and they also will do a background check for you right then and there. Okay, now a background check doesn't mean really a lot because, I mean, yeah, it's gonna tell you if they're criminals or not, but it isn't gonna tell you if they're a liar or a cheater. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of the things that I do is I run my own independent background check. I have a detective that does it for me. I pay him, money for these, and I ask these tenants to go ahead and pay me $50, so that way I can go ahead and buy this background check for them and to see if they check out. I also check references. A lot of times I'll get young people, not to discriminate against young people. You can't discriminate against you can't discriminate against anybody's age. You can't discriminate against their race, their sexual origin, their creed. You can't discriminate against anybody on this. And I don't suggest you do. I mean, if they're black, they're white, they're brown, they're orange, they're purple, who cares? You have to accept them no matter what. You can't discriminate them, well, not no matter what, but you can't discriminate against them about their age or their sex or anything like that. So don't even go down that alley. You have to be an equal opportunity housing provider when you're doing this, okay? So, but when you're talking to them and you're filling them out, when I fill them out, I'm like trying to disqualify them. Like I literally am trying to find a reason to disqualify them. And if I can't find a reason to disqualify somebody, you're on to something. If you can't find a reason, they're probably going to be the person you need to pick or the family you need to pick. One of the things that I do is I talk to their references, and a lot of times their references are their family. And if it's their family or their real close friends, and they say, like, this is my grandmother, or this is my mom, hey, look, I'm moving out of my mom's house, I'm moving into my own place, it's my first time, I don't have any landlord history or any tenant history, what do I do? Well, you still want to consider them a chance, but the first thing out of my mouth when I call their reference is like, hey, I realize you're this guy's grandmother, and you lived in your RV or something like that, and they're like, yeah, you lived with me. Okay, so the first thing out of my mouth is, would you co-sign for them? And if the answer is no, that tells you everything you need to know. Okay, now sometimes people don't want to co-sign for somebody just for the sake of not wanting to co-sign for somebody, but if somebody's flat out says, no, I don't want to co-sign for them, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, they're probably a bad person that they're trying to shoo along, your way and out of their house. So you got to be careful with that. I'll call landlord references, I'll call friends, I'll call jobs to verify employment. I've had like some people say they work for this company that's been out of business. You do a Google Street View, and of course that business is not even there. You start calling the businesses next door and say, hey, have you ever heard of this business? Oh yeah, they went out of business 10 years ago. So one of the things that you got to watch out for is when you're verifying employment and somebody's using their Gmail for their employer email, like that's a big red flag. Like, I need to know what's behind your @ symbol, to verify your employer. Well, then you got guys like me that are self-employed that use Gmail, so you kind of just have to talk to them and feel like if it's fraudulent or not. But if you feel like it's fraudulent or you got a bad vibe, don't go with the first person. I'm gonna be honest with you. Another thing when you're checking out tenants is like, watch out for names. Like, I leased to a guy named David, no middle name Smith one time. He owes me $12,000. Okay, like how many David Smiths are in this world? There's a bunch. So like the odds of me getting that $12,000 for David, no middle name Smith is gonna be very, very difficult. And I haven't been able to get that money at this point. So, if you got a common name, you need to start digging in more. You need to look up more stuff. You need to run their criminal backgrounds. You need to look at their credit. Sometimes they got really bad credit. That could be a good thing for a landlord because if they got really bad credit, they're never gonna leave you. Sometimes these people that want to rent your houses, they just got out of jail. Is that something you're willing to take on? Were they rehabilitated or were they not? One of the policies that I have personally is if you were a sex offender, I'm out. Like, I ain't got time for sex offenders. If you're a sex offender, you want to rent my house, go on down to the trailer park, bro. I can't deal with sex offenders that are in my house. It's against my moral compass to have somebody in there. Well, there's this story, that story, like, hey, it's just not for me. Also, if you're a murderer, not really somebody I want to lease to. You got aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, not somebody I really want to lease to. But hey, you got caught smoking pot when you were 20 years old and you're 40 now. Like, is it really a big deal? No. Hey, I got a DWI. Is that a big deal? No, not really. Hey, I got 2 DWIs. Is that really a big deal? No, it's not. Join your lesson because the next time you're going to prison for a long, long time. So when you're filling these people out, go with your gut. Do your due diligence. If they're really in a hurry or really eager, to get into the house, something could be wrong, so slow it down a little bit if you need to. Most importantly, do not give the keys to anybody until you've been paid. Like, that money needs to be in your account or in your hands. Use cashier's checks. There's a lot of people out there forging documents, forging checks, coming up with just some drama. Like, don't take any Western Union transfers. There's so much fraud in that crap too. Like, just get the cash in your hand or a cashier's check or a Zelle or a Venmo Venmo or something like that. And then when you get these tenants in, I recommend apartments.com because you can set people on auto draft. And then you just got to go log in and make sure that they're getting paid. I recommend you charge a late fee. You know, if folks aren't paying on time, you need to get a late fee from them and eager to pay on time. But, you know, looking through tenants and, you know, sifting through your applications, if you got a tremendous amount of applications, I'm going to be honest with you, you're probably underpriced. And if you have like no applications, you're probably overpriced. And don't be scared when people come in and they look at your property. Like if you're only having a few stragglers come in, like just give me some feedback. Like, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Just be honest, you know? I mean, like just get it out of them. Like, what'd you like about it? What'd you not like about it? You know, how can I get better if you don't give me feedback? So some of the feedback that I've gotten is you're overpriced, or, you know, hey, the yard isn't big enough, living room isn't big enough. You know, I want an open concept. You know, there's picky folks out there, don't get me wrong, but you know, me, I'm buying trap houses and turning them into nice trap homes. So they're remodeling, people are just blown away, you know, by the work we do. So they usually don't sit there on market too long. You know, realistic expectations, you know, I'd say that if your house isn't rented in a month, something's wrong. You know, you could not be following up enough. You couldn't be logging into Zillow to check. You might not be marketing enough places. Some of these outer skirts towns, like I got one in Bonham. If you know where Bonham is, it's northeast of Dallas, probably about an hour and a half. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. That one took a little bit longer to rent, and I had to price drop myself $100 there to get somebody to take it. And even at that point, you know, the guy tried to knock me down another $100, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So, you know, it just kind of depends on where your rental is and how long it's going to sit. You know, my Dallas ones, they rent real fast. My Fort Worth ones, they rent real fast. So, you know, I don't really have any worries in the major metros, but the outskirts is a good place to invest in. And then, you know, those will probably take you, you know, 2 weeks to a month to get leased. And, you know, you also got to run into other people's, well, my lease isn't up till this day. You know, I need to lease it on this date. And that's like 2 months in advance. And it's like, dude, like I'm not sitting and waiting for you for 2 months. And most importantly, this thing is not leased until you have money in your hands. Don't take your ads down. Don't anybody know that, you know, it's rented or anything like that until this thing is completely rented, because there's a lot of people that say they'll take it and then they don't show up. And then you just wasted your time. You told all these people that, hey, it's rented. So like, I can't tell you how many times I've rented the property 5 times until somebody actually paid. Like it's just ridiculous. But you know, this is a dog and pony show sometimes. It sucks, but you know, once you get a good tenant in there, you got them to a good lease, you got good expectations, you got a pet deposit on file. Make sure you don't rent it to a pit bull or to a German Shepherd or to some of these Ardesian Ridgebacks or whatever the hell they are. Like these real super aggressive dogs that insurance companies don't like. You know, stay away from those. Tomcats that aren't fixed are going to urinate, spray all over your house. You don't want those. I had somebody recently reach out to me and said, hey, will you accept us with multiple pets? I'm like, well, what kind of pets you got? Well, I got 5 dogs, I got 4 cats, and I got 3 caged animals. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? If somebody's got a dog or a couple dogs or something like that, you know, or a cat, you know, I would ask and see if they're neutered or not, especially on the male cats. But, you know, a cat, it's going to make your house smell. It really is. You know, have a good ozone machine and a good cleaning plan behind it. You might even have to slap a coat of paint on there. There's a good chance those cats are going to tear up your carpet a little bit, you know, or the doors if they're not, you know, let out. Dogs do that too. Dogs scratch up doors. So be prepared to, you know, to clean up behind these dogs. I charge a $500 non-refundable pet deposit to move into my house. That's what I charge. And, you know, sometimes they do damage that takes more than $500, and I just start taking it out of their deposit. And then if it does damage on top of that, and then I ask them to pay me, and if they don't want to pay me, well, then we have to get legal, meet my attorney. So, you know, when you're leasing to people that have things to lose, like credit to lose, or, you know, they don't want a judgment on their name or something like that, and you start having to get legal with folks, you know, it's kind of a bad thing to do. It's not fun to go down that road, but you have to let them know that, hey, look, I mean, remember you have a cosigner in the state of Texas that owns real estate in the state of Texas, and we're about to go take you to court, and if we win, we get a judgment, guess what? We're going to attach a judgment to your cosigner's property. You might want to get this resolved so we don't have to go that far. I love cosigners with real estate in Texas. They're some of my best tenants, believe it or not. But anyways, I'm Ryan Jackson. I'm Metro Texas #1 trap house buyer. I'm Metro Texas #1 provider of affordable housing. Please click like, please click subscribe, and most importantly, click share. Thank you. God bless.